3 true spa horror stories. This is Mr. H. You're listening to Masked Horror. Creeping Serenity. I've always gone to a spa to get away and relax. I think it's a necessary part of being healthy and sane. I use it as a chance to unwind, to escape the daily grind, to indulge in a little luxury. So when a friend recommended a quaint day spa on the outskirts of town, I jumped at the chance. The place was called Serenity something. I can't really remember the right name, but it promised an oasis of calm and relaxation. The spa was located in a charming old building with ivy creeping up the walls and a small fountain bubbling at the entrance. Inside, it was cozy and inviting, filled with the scent of lavender and the soft hum of soothing music. A receptionist named Lily greeted me warmly and handed me a plush robe and guided me to the massage room. "Your therapist, Anna, will be with you shortly," Lily said with a smile. "She's wonderful, and she has a lovely cat named Whiskers, who sometimes visits. I hope you don't mind cats." I assured her I didn't and made myself comfortable on the massage table. Moments later, Anna entered the room. She was a tall, graceful woman with a serene demeanor that immediately put me at ease. We chatted briefly about my preferences and any areas of tension, and then she began the massage. Anna's hands were skillful, expertly working out the knots in my shoulders and back. I felt myself melting in the table, all my stress slipping away. After some time, she paused and told me she was going to place cucumber slices over my eyes to help reduce puffiness. "It'll be very relaxing," she said. "I'll be right back. Just lie back and enjoy." I felt the coolness of the cucumber slices on my eyelids and sighed in contentment. The room was quiet, except for the soft rustling of leaves outside the window. I began to drift off, lulled by the tranquility. But then, something disturbed my peace. A light, tickling sensation on my legs. I shifted slightly, thinking it was just the hem of the blanket. The sensation grew stronger, moving up my legs towards my chest. My heart began to race. I tried to stay calm, convincing myself it was nothing, but the feeling became unmistakable. Something was crawling on me. I reached up to remove the cucumber slices from my eyes. As soon as I did, I saw them, 2 large black roaches scurrying across my chest. I froze in terror. My breath caught in my throat. The roaches moved towards my face, their antennas twitching. Just as I was about to scream, Whiskers, the cat, leapt onto the table. In one swift motion, he snatched one of the roaches in his mouth and crunched down on it. The other roach tried to escape, but Whiskers pounced on it, crushing it with his paw. I lay there trembling as Anna rushed back into the room, her eyes wide in horror when she saw what had happened. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she exclaimed. "I don't know how this happened. Are you all right?" I nodded, still in shock. Anna apologized profusely and helped me sit up. I couldn't shake the feeling of those roaches crawling on me. The image of their twitching legs seared in my mind. The spa owner, a woman named Margot, came in and offered me a full refund and complimentary services, but I couldn't stay. I dressed quickly and left, my skin crawling with phantom sensations. The nightmare started that night. I dreamed of being covered in insects, of feeling their legs skirting over my body. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I became paranoid, constantly checking my surroundings for any sign of bugs. My once serene home became a prison of fear. A few weeks later, I heard a news story about a spa in a nearby town that had just been shut down due to a severe roach infestation. Clients had reported similar experiences, roaches crawling on them during treatments, some even finding the insects in their belongings afterward. The health department had found nests hidden in the walls and under the floorboards. The realization hit me hard. The spa I had went to had likely faced the same issue, but they had tried to cover it up, to keep their business running. My mind raced with the thoughts of how many others had suffered like me. The Elysium Retreat. I had always been a bit of a spa junkie. The tranquil ambiance and soothing treatments were my escape from the hectic reality of everyday life. So when I stumbled upon an advertisement for a new day spa that promised an unparalleled experience of relaxation and rejuvenation, I was immediately intrigued. The spa was called Elysium Retreat, nestled in an isolated part of town. The idea of a serene, secluded getaway was irresistible. The building itself was an old Victorian mansion, restored to its former glory with a modern twist. As I stepped through the grand entrance, I was surrounded with a sense of calm. The reception area was dimly lit, with flickering candles, and the faint scent of lavender lingered in the air. A young woman with an eerie, almost doll-like appearance greeted me with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Welcome to Elysium Retreat," she said in a soft, almost hypnotic tone. "We are delighted to have you. Please follow me." She led me down a long corridor, lined with heavy, dark wood paneling. The walls were adorned with vintage photographs of the mansion in its heyday, which gave the place an unsettling, haunted house vibe, just kind of weird. I was shown a luxurious treatment room, where a series of therapies awaited me. The first was a simple massage, which melted away my tension. The next was a facial that left my skin glowing. I was lulled into a sense of deep relaxation. But then, things started to take a bizarre turn. After the facial, I was guided to a small, dimly lit chamber for a special treatment they called the restoration chamber. The room was filled with an odd assortment of antique medical equipment. It looked like something out of a Victorian doctor's office with a sinister twist. The air was thick with an unsettling mixture of antiseptic and something metallic. "Please lie down," the therapist instructed, her voice still unnervingly calm. I laid on the cold metal table as she strapped my wrists and ankles. A sudden jolt of panic hit me, but I tried to convince myself it was just part of the experience. The therapist placed a strange, old-fashioned metal helmet on my head, which had wires and electrodes attached to it. "This will only take a moment," she assured me, her voice echoing in the small room. As she flipped the switch, a searing pain shot through my skull, and the world went black. I don't know how long I was unconscious, but when I came to, I found myself in a different room. The walls were lined with shelves full of glass jars, each containing what appeared to be human organs. My heart pounded in my chest as I realized these weren't just decorative oddities, they were real. Panic surged through me as I struggled to free myself from the restraints, but they held firm. In the corner of the room stood a man in a lab coat, his face partially obscured by shadows. He held a scalpel, and his eyes gleamed with a madness I had never seen before. "Welcome back," he said with a chilling grin. "We've been expecting you." I screamed, but the walls seemed to swallow the sound. The man approached, his scalpel gleaming in the dim light. Desperation gave me strength, and I managed to pull one of my hands free. I grabbed the jar from a nearby shelf and hurled it at him. It shattered, and he jumped back, giving me just enough time to free myself completely. I bolted from the room, my mind a whirlwind of terror and confusion. The place was just weird, a labyrinth of horrors. Every room I passed contained some new atrocity. There were guests, or what was left of them, strapped to tables, subjected to unimaginable tortures. Some were still conscious, their eyes pleading for help that I couldn't give. I finally stumbled upon an exit, bursting into the cold night air. I ran blindly into the woods, not daring to look back. The sounds of the mansion faded, but the images were seared in my mind. I eventually made it to the nearest town, disheveled and incoherent. I made it to the police station. The officers listened to my story with skepticism, but when they arrived at Elysium Retreat, the mansion was empty. The staff had vanished, and there was no sign of the horrors I had witnessed. It was as if the place had never existed. They thought it was a prank, and they were thinking about pressing charges, but I overheard some of the officers whispering about the situation. They said they were tired of all these acid trips, but I didn't take any acid. Actually, I don't know what they gave me during the massage. I thought it was just water with lemon and cucumber, but I know what I experienced and what I saw. To this day, I'm haunted by what I experienced, and the faces of the victims are etched in my memory. I can never set foot in a spa ever again. Tranquil nightmare. I've always been a sucker for new experiences, especially when it comes to self-care. So when I stumbled upon the newly opened day spa offering traditional Asian massages with rave reviews, I booked an appointment immediately. Little did I know, I was about to walk into a nightmare. The spa was tucked away in a quiet part of town, its entrance adorned with bamboo and soft inviting lights. As I walked in, the faint smell of essential oils filled the air, and soft instrumental music played in the background. It seemed perfect. A young woman at the reception desk greeted me with a warm smile, handed me a clipboard for intake forms, and offered me a cup of herbal tea. Her name tag read Maya. "You're going to love it here," she said, her eyes sparkling. "Our lead therapist, Kira, is the best in town." After filling out the forms, Maya led me down a dimly lit room at the back of the spa. The walls had paintings of serene landscapes, and a soft massage table stood in the center. A slight chill ran down my spine, but I dismissed it as pre-massage jitters. Kira walked in a few minutes later. She was a petite woman with an aura of confidence and calm. She asked a few questions about my preferences and any pain points. Her voice was soothing, and I felt my initial apprehension melt away. The massage started off wonderfully. Kira's hands worked magic on my tense shoulders and stiff neck. I could feel myself sinking into the table, my worries dissolving with each stroke. Then she mentioned something about a special technique that involved walking on my back. "It's an ancient method," she explained. "It's great for deep tissue relaxation and realigning the spine." I had heard about this technique before and had always been curious. I agreed, and she assured me it was perfectly safe. She placed some bars above the table for balance and gently stepped onto my back. At first, the pressure felt amazing. Kira knew exactly where to press, and I felt the tension releasing from my muscles. But as she moved towards my lower back, I felt an intense, sharp pain. Before I could say anything, there was a sickening crack. A white-hot pain shot through my body, and I let out a scream. My vision blurred, and I felt my legs go numb. Kira immediately got off, panic evident in her voice as she asked if I was all right, but I couldn't move. The pain was unbearable, and I could barely breathe. The rest was a blur. An ambulance was called, and I was rushed to the hospital. The doctors informed me that I had a broken vertebrae, which had caused severe nerve damage. I was partially paralyzed from the waist down. The next few months were a hellish cycle of surgeries, excruciating pain, and countless hours of physical therapy. Kira disappeared after the incident. It turned out she had no license to practice and had a history of moving from town to town, opening spas under different names. The authorities couldn't track her down, and I was left to deal with the aftermath of her negligence. The spa was shut down, but that did nothing to ease my suffering. Every day was a struggle, a reminder of that fateful massage that had turned my life into a living nightmare. The horror wasn't just the physical pain, but the betrayal and the endless questions. How could I have been so naive? How how many others had fallen victim to Cura's reckless practices. As I lay in my hospital bed, I often thought of the news stories I had read about similar cases, people trusting so-called professionals only to be left with lifelong scars. In the end, there was no justice, no happy resolution, just endless time to work on healing myself. But I will never be the same. My life has been changed forever by that spa visit. The fear, the paranoia, the sleepless nights, it never went away. I can never fully ever relax, let alone go to a spa for fear of this happening once again.